Welcome to this week's Thoughtful Thursday. And this week I wanted to talk about the power of consistency. What got me thinking about this was I'm feeling rather proud this week. I feel proud of myself and proud of the team, Miranda and Jenny, that we got to 100 episodes of Everyday Alex in, I guess, about 3.5, 4 months. And we've been pretty consistent. In fact, we haven't missed a single day that we plan to release an episode. And I was thinking about that kind of consistency was a quality that I really developed back in the years that I had ME chronic fatigue. That I had this conversation with my uncle that I've talked about in many places. I'm not going to go into it in this video, but where I was helped to realize that if I wanted the circumstances of my life to change, then I was going to have to change them. And that meant cultivating positive habits that were going to support me in really creating the life that I wanted to be living, i.e. at that point, the life of a healthy person. And I think it's sort of that time of year, particularly towards the end of January, where often people are feeling a sense of failure to follow through with kind of New Year's resolutions and things that people are committed to change. And I think part of the struggle is that getting started with new habits can be really challenging. And it's a bit like if you're trying to get a car started from stationary, like say a car's broken down and you've got 2 or 3 people pushing a car, trying to get a car moving. Once you've got the car moving, it's much easier to keep it moving than it is to get it started. I think back to the start of this daily vlog and all the tests on equipment and editing and different styles and different intros. And those of you that have been following us since the beginning will see that we've changed things. We used to do little teasers at the start. You guys told us you didn't like them, so we stopped doing them. We changed the Mindful Monday format completely to the guided meditations. We changed the Friday episodes from being advice for practitioners to being the kind of inspirational stories. So we've been developing and kind of evolving as we've been going, but we've been consistent. And the hardest thing was that first episode of getting everything right in terms of the kind of the format and the structure. And it's certainly not perfect at this point. In fact, we're going through a process of how do we evolve this and take this to the next level. But how do we get started? How do we get started and become consistent with following through with something? Because I think the things that we do habitually, the things that we do in kind of on a daily basis, they play a big role in defining our life. If you have a habit, or if you don't have a habit of cleaning your teeth, for example, let's say you don't have that habit, you don't clean your teeth. In the end, your teeth are going to rot and you're going to lose your teeth. If you don't have a habit of any kind of self-care, if you don't look after your body, be that through diet, be that through the right form of movement or exercise for your current level of health and capacity, if you don't look after your emotional body, again, there are consequences and implications to that. But I think, often what we do is we think too much about the big things, like, I want to be completely fully recovered, or I want to be, if we're single, I want to be married and in a kind of happy, wonderful, loving relationship. And we forget about the daily habits, the daily practices. What are we doing consistently, which is building the foundation towards that? And because we get so overwhelmed with the kind of the destination, the place we want to get to, we don't start. Or we pick up unhealthy habits. That every time that we feel strong emotions, we distract and we numb ourselves. Maybe we reach for our phone. Maybe we go and watch kind of box sets on TV. But we've got things consistently that we do that are actually in the way of the things in our life that we care about, the things that matter. So how do we become consistent? Well, firstly, what we need to do is we need to chunk things down. That if, for example, we want to, in fact, I'll give you a real example. Some of you know I'm currently working on a book, and I need to deliver a manuscript to this book, a book on our work with fatigue, to a publisher in June. And I have several weeks blocked out between now and then. One of them's next week, so there's going to be no daily episodes next week. Although I am planning on doing some simpler episodes on Instagram, so just kind of Instagram lives or Instagram pre-recorded videos. So definitely, if you don't follow me on Instagram, do, because there'll be something happening each day on there next week. I had this book project, and I felt that I wasn't going to have enough time in those weeks that I've dedicated. And I like writing. And I thought, well, I know I'm going to try and do an hour or two in the evenings at home. And then so I kind of get back from work and I go for a swim or do some yoga or spend time with the kids and have dinner. And then my brain would be kind of a little bit kind of full with all the things that have been happening in the day. So one evening I thought, I'm just going to go and sit and meditate for 15, 20 minutes and just sort of see how I feel afterwards. And I did. And my whole system was kind of grounded and settled. My mind was clear. And I had a great writing session for an hour and a half or so. So it then just sort of became a habit that, not on weekends where it's kind of playtime and family time, but on kind of Sunday to Thursday, I seem to sit after dinner and meditate for a bit, and then sit and write. And it's just become a fairly consistent habit and routine. And some of my best writing seems to come as part of that habit. The hardest thing was getting started. Once I was started, it sort of just became a routine that felt good and worked. So we need to chunk down. Like, I don't sit down to write a book. I sit down to work on a bit of a chapter, and I kind of set myself a goal. Let's see if I can get this bit done. So you need to chunk down this whole big thing, whatever it may be, to what's the next piece, what's the habit or the practice, and then you need to get started. And it needs to be simple enough and manageable enough that you feel like you can follow through. And I think that's also part of the challenge, that it's like, how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one mouthful at a time. We try to shove the whole elephant in our mouth, apologies to the vegans, try and shove the whole elephant in our mouth, and then it's too much. So to be consistent, we need to pick a small enough piece. We need to set things up so that we win. And then we need to start just being consistent. And then after a while, that becomes the habit. That becomes the routine. And we grow our capacity in doing that. So we might start off, let's say you want to build a routine around meditation. You might start off with literally 5 minutes. Once you've been successful at doing 5 minutes regularly each day, then you might grow it to 6 minutes or to 10 minutes or whatever. So we start off with something that feels manageable. We set it up so we win, so we feel like we win. It becomes a habit, and then we gently grow it. And I've said this a number of times on the vlog, but we tend to overestimate what can be achieved in the short term, and we underestimate what can be achieved in the medium to long term. So we may think, oh, well, this small thing, that's not going to have any impact. This small thing over time, built upon and kind of growing, could have a massive impact. But we're never going to get started if it's overwhelming. So have a think about, what are some of the positive habits that you would like to be consistent with? What are some of the negative habits you'd like to be less consistent with, that you would like to stop doing? And then see what you can do to get started. Chunk things down, get things manageable enough, and then start being consistent. And you work out that discipline muscle by doing things. That discipline muscle doesn't grow randomly. That discipline muscle grows through habit and through repetition. And what may be challenging at first starts to become more natural, starts to become comfortable. So I hope that's been helpful. Do share in the comments below, what would you like to be more consistent with? What would you like to be less consistent with? Would love to hear your thoughts and your reflections. Tomorrow it's Feel Good Friday. And in tomorrow's Feel Good Friday, we'll have another of our original recovery stories from Secrets to Recovery Live. And for some of you have been asking, we're lining up some new recovery stories, new healing journeys that we're looking to start releasing in the next month or so as well. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and look forward to talking with you tomorrow.